The medical examiner's office said it is not releasing the autopsy reports because of Madeline's age and that her death is related to domestic violence. The owner tells me that he parks that food truck right here day and night. He even pays the owner of the parking lot rent to make sure that it's safe. But on top of trying to figure out why it was stolen, he says the cameras inside were cut short when the thieves cut the power supply. The water's coming in this direction where this drain right here is supposed to let most of it come out. But as you can see, it's clogged. This possibly started on the patio, spread to an attic of one of the units, and that fire spread through 3 units, and because of the water damage, 8 were displaced. Now, just looking right over our shoulder, you see that this roof is completely gutted on that second floor. We've gotten a lot closer since we've been out here yesterday, and I want you to see just how damaged this property looks right now. You can still smell the fire smoke in the air, and that roof completely gone. The police are giving us very little information about how this all unfolded, and as you said, this is still a pretty active scene, but it's calm. From what people have told us about 5 hours ago, you can still see crime scene investigators out here collecting evidence. The owner of this chiropractic service tells me he noticed this sign that happened over the weekend. We drove around downtown Orlando and found several buildings with graffiti all over. Look at this trail that we found. It leads up to this board that's blocking a hole that the bears made. You see right now I'm sitting in this empty bleacher stands, but give it about 4 days, it's going to be filled with people cheering. And along Roslyn Avenue, those are going to be one of the streets that'll be affected for driving. People that I've spoken with tell me there's a few unwritten rules that they follow before coming out here, and one that's finding the perfect spot in front of the stage, had a lot of shade, and staying cool. And as you can see, some people have already started to find their perfect spot in front of that stage. You can hear a lot of that music going on. There's plenty of these misting area tents that are allowing people to stay cool in there throughout the entire park. Now, people have gathered here from all over around to Cranes Roost Park for one of Altamont Springs' largest events.
We've been covering the case of Madeline Soto since her disappearance in late February. Channel 9's Daryl Matthews spoke to her family the day after she disappeared and was the first reporter to obtain the 911 audio.
Yeah, Greg, the medical examiner's office said it is not releasing the autopsy reports because of Madeline's age and that her death is related to domestic violence. Now, these calls that you are about to hear for the first time shed light on how the investigation into finding Maddie began.
We have a missing child since this morning. We already called 3 times, and the police didn't show up yet.
Several calls to 911 dispatchers give a sense of urgency and concern about the disappearance of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. It was the first time Orange County deputies learned the teenager never showed up here at Hunters Creek Middle School.
She was last seen at the church next to Hunters Creek Middle School. I think it's called Peace Church. I'm not sure of the exact address. She was wearing a dark green hoodie, I believe. She's been missing since 8 a.m., so we want to get everything done as soon as possible to try to find her.
The Orange County Sheriff's Office released the calls, but redacted the information about who made these calls. What we do know is that Madeline's mother, Jennifer Soto, is nearby when one of the callers is on the phone with dispatchers.
Are you calling on behalf of the parent? Yes, on behalf of the mother. She's like, okay.
Investigators would later name this man, her mother's boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, the prime suspect in Madeline's disappearance. Stearns told investigators and told Eyewitness News during this exclusive interview that he dropped her off in the church parking lot just before school, a day after she celebrated her 13th birthday. Several days later, her body was discovered in this wooded area in St. Cloud. Now, coming up, we're learning more about those callers and how they started their own search after they called 911. We're live in Hunters Creek. Daryl Matthews, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
The reason we don't know much about it is because there was a concerted effort to bury this story.
A hidden history of a black citrus worker named Arthur Henry, from Lake City migrating to Orlando for a better life. But he was lynched on Thanksgiving Day, 1925.
So it's Thanksgiving Day. He and his family have been to church that afternoon. The events that begin at his house, which is in the Paramore district.
Police were in the area to investigate shootings. Till this day, it's still a mystery as to why they ended up at Henry's doorstep.
He was in the house. The police come The family was there in the house as well. The officer says he comes in with a flashlight and it's shot out of his hand, and then there's an exchange of gunfire. Both of the officers who had come to the house were shot. Arthur Henry was also shot.
All three were taken to Orlando General Hospital, which we now know today as Orlando Health.
He was shackled to a bed in the boiler room in the basement because that was the Negro ward. The other officers, the two officers, were upstairs.
In the middle of the night, three unidentified white men showed up at the hospital, held an officer who was guarding him at gunpoint, and kidnapped Henry.
Because, you know, the Klan was probably the worst kept secret in America. Everybody knew who these people were. But they wore the disguises and the hoods and all. And the thing was that what they were involved in, again, were capital crimes.
Old newspaper clippings detailed several stories of his kidnapping and the search that followed.
I could understand in that era where people didn't talk about it because they didn't know if they would be next.
It would be 2 weeks before Arthur Henry was found. He had been shot in the south part of town where Gatlin Avenue turns off South Dixie, which today is Orange Avenue. His body was found lynched 8 miles away.
It was found over on the southwest side of the county on the shores of Lake Conway.
Harry Coverston has spent 5 years trying to piece together the story of Arthur Henry, a story that hadn't been passed down even to his descendants.
It's sort of painful because I won't say that they didn't have struggles and challenges, but this is a struggle that they didn't share with us.
This would be another example of how we're erasing the ugly history of our past.
Now Arthur's story is being told. It's been memorialized with a new historical marker, just dedicated outside of Dr. William Monroe Wells' former home in Paramore. Daryl Matthews, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.